So I'm going to talk about my journey just from a little bit of different perspective. When I was asked to do this, and I had a meeting last week with the team behind the magazine, it actually inspired me to go to the website because I want to know what International Women's Day is, right? And visited the website, and the key message that they want to get over is the whole thing about break the bias, as you may or may not know. And they've got these words on their website which says, imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes and discrimination, a world that is diverse, equitable and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together we can forge women's equality. And I think they're all lofty and great ideals that we should work to bring about. But it's these are ideals that we must journey towards, and particularly as Black women, that Bionoza mentioned before, we know what it's like to be a stereotype, that whole strong Black woman stereotype. We want to fling it out the water, etc. We know what it's like to be discriminated against. And we've been in situations, sometimes within situations amongst other races, but sometimes amongst ourselves, where we aren't always valued and celebrated. However, for me, I just think it's important as women to kick against the biases. I'm a woman from the faith community, or the Black church community, as it's called. And for some who are not part of it, they can sometimes feel that the people within it and the women within it are confined to live out particular roles that limit their aspirations. I want to say that that is not true. And we are sometimes viewed through the eyes of bias. And so as soon as we say that we are women of faith or from the faith community, people immediately start thinking judgmental, holy rollers, dowdy. And with all stereotypes, it may be true for some, but not for all. So for me, in terms of my work as a journalist, as I said earlier, at the Voice newspaper, I've come to realize that the faith community of which I am a part is filled with women who take hold of the empowering words that they find in their holy books, apply them to their lives, and as a result have risen against the bias and stereotypes and discrimination to serve as leaders and to live lives that are rich and meaningful and serve as an inspiration to others. Now, me, myself, have been part of the faith community since I was 15. And since my 20s, I have been writing about the Black faith community. In fact, I've written about the Black faith community for 33 years and have become an award-winning journalist, firstly at the Voice newspaper, and secondly as editor, former editor of a magazine called Keep the Faith magazine, the leading magazine about the Black faith community. And through my work, I've seen firsthand how women and women of faith have overcome biases to lead. I've overcome them too. So when I look back on my youth as a teenager, there's one woman who stands out as a shining beacon of what can be achieved as a woman of faith and as a black woman, because I'm really it's really precious to me to be a woman and to be a Black woman. And it's my very first pastor, and her name was Pastor Io Smith MBE. She's now deceased. But I remember her as a teenager as a kind of formidable woman. And when I look back, I don't know for you, but sometimes when you look back when you were younger, the people, they were like 42, 43, which is when you reach that age, it's not old. But when you look back, you think, oh my God, she was just 42 when she was doing all that, you know. But the gulf between being a teenager and a mature woman can seem really, really big. But she was a formidable woman. I was part of a church called the New Testament Assembly, and I belonged to the church that she pastored. And it was the largest church in that denomination. So I've got personal experience of seeing women who broke through barriers. She was a pioneer in establishing community projects, which included a home for senior citizens that's still around today. She served as a bridge between Black and white communities. So even back then in the 1980s, she was very proud of her cultural heritage, and she felt confident enough to kind of bridge the gulf between Black and white communities. She was a great preacher. When you talk to people who remember her from back in the day, they all say she was a fantastic preacher. She was a mentor to men and women, and some of those men have become great men. I don't know if any of you've heard of a guy called Reverend Les Isaac, CBE. He was mentored by her. And she also established a school in Ghana, which is a really, really large school still around today. So for me, she set the bar high. And one of the things that she did for me was kind of like she highlighted that whole thing that is come to be described as self-leadership, which is the ability to lead yourself so that you achieve your personal and professional goals, both for yourself and for the organization that you work for. And she also taught me the importance of understanding who you are, what you're about, your essence, what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, and just kind of focusing your mind on achieving those things. And the whole thing about self-leadership is something that I have been focusing on a lot lately, because I think it's so important that as a woman, including myself, to bring your authentic self to the table and not to subscribe to the limiting views that others may have of you, but also as well as being also stated that you might have of yourself. So getting people like coaches and stuff like that to just kind of expand your thinking. And I personally believe that being a great leader is about forging your own path and leading in the way that you see fit. But in that process, you have to be an inspiration for others, because you are kind of blazing a trail. So for me, my background, I am the child of Windrush generation parents. My parents are Jamaican. They came here in the 1960s. I think I got conceived in Jamaica, so I'm not too sure if I'm Jamaican or British because I got born here. So like most immigrant, Caribbean immigrant families, I got sent to Sunday school at a young age. I was encouraged to value education and have ambition. But unlike my African counterparts or Nigerian counterpart, we weren't told that it's either doctor, lawyer, or what's the other one, accountant. We were kind of given a little bit more freedom to actually choose what we wanted to do, but education was valued. We were encouraged to pursue education. We were also encouraged to be people of good character. That was whether or not you were Christian or not. So we weren't, it was frowned upon to be a liar or to steal and to not work hard. It was instilled in us that we should be respectful of ourselves and our bodies, and respectful of other people. And more importantly, which is like every leader has to think this, we were told that we were as good as anybody else. And sort of like when I look at this current generation who have to battle with social media and all the messages that's inherent in social media, I am so glad that I got brought up in a time where you were just kind of taught these principles and you could just get on with living, not have to pretend to, use filters so that you look a particular way, but you could just be yourself, develop as yourself, and not have too much influence to make you feel that you weren't good enough. Because when I went out into the world, I felt I was as good as anybody else. I might not dress as great as anybody else. I might not even talk as eloquently as everybody else, but I just felt I was as good as everybody else, because that's what was instilled in me. So having those kind of values gave me confidence. And these values came into play when I started working at The Voice. So how I got to work at The Voice was that I started working there part-time whilst I was studying at university. My whole aim really was to become a social worker. Don't know why, because now I'm not really interested in listening to people's problems and helping them through. But at the time, I wanted to be a social worker, so I studied social science. And to supplement my income, I'd started doing receptionist work at The Voice. And a good friend of mine, she worked in the marketing department there. She was given the role of choosing somebody to take over the role of Soul Stirrings, which is a column I wrote for many years, because the previous, that current editor was moving on to work in a different department. So she said to me, oh, Marcia, you know, we're looking for somebody to do Soul Stirrings. And I don't know where it came from, but I just said, I'll do it. I want to do it. And I got given the job there and then, not realizing that it would kind of change my career path that I had kind of planned for myself, and that I'd have so many great experiences writing the column, some of it, most of it positive, some of it a little bit negative, and that at the end of part of my writing the column and doing it for so many years, that I would actually get an MBE for doing that work. But I have to say that I loved what I did. I loved interviewing the leading Black religious figures and gospel music artists of the day, because particularly the music, I love gospel music. I love getting all the free tickets to go to the concert. I loved, kind of like, as a journalist, you know, you get to go to beautiful places, lovely hotels, which I most probably wouldn't get to go if I had worked as a social worker. Went to travel abroad. My work has taken me to Haiti, to Jamaica, to America, to the Bahamas, to Germany. Those are some of the places that I have been able to travel with through my work. And I have interviewed some really great people. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with a church called the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Pastor, I'm calling him Doctor, but it was Pastor, I think Enoch Adebayo. I interviewed him when RCCG was first setting up in this country. I'm a young person, so I'm not really recognizing how important this guy is. He's just been brought to my office for me to interview him, not realizing that I spoke to the person who later on down the road had kind of laid the foundation for RCCG in this church, which now has about 600 churches. I spoke to him when he first came here to set up the church. Reverend Jesse Jackson. Interviewed my favorite group, the Winans. I love the Winans. Spoke to Baroness Valerie Amos when she served in the UK government. I've been to 10 Downing Street 3 times, and I'm not saying that to boast or anything like that. I'm just saying this work that I didn't expect it to take me down that road. I was just happy writing about issues of faith and how I came to be seen as a leader, because really I wasn't leading people, like running my own company or leading a department. I was just writing a column, interviewing people, but people viewed me as a leader as a result of my being consistent, persistent, being a little bit controversial at times, and doing things my way. So I led in terms of the words that I wrote, the things that I would say. I would say it was more a thought leader as opposed to a leader. But it's only just recently that I've recognized the impact of my work. Getting an MBE was just the icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned, and I've loved my journey. And what's been interesting for me is that I loved writing. I can take the hard knocks. I want to be one of those strong Black women. But yeah, I want to be vulnerable too, but I want to be a woman who can take the hard knocks. If I write something that somebody doesn't like, I want to be able to defend what I've written. But one of the things about me, I was very happy being in the background. So you go to an event and you slink in and you slink out. If I needed to be bold in order to kind of interview somebody, etc., I would do that. But I wasn't interested in being a person in the front. I was very happy just writing. And if people saw me at an event, they saw me. But I was very happy just kind of being undercover. But what's happened to me since I've hit my fabulous 50s, is what I called them, is that I've had to kind of, I've been on a journey of leveling up, which has become pertinent since the start of 2022. But when I was 50, I felt led to set up this breakfast for female leaders called Destined to Soar, the Destined to Soar Women's Ministry Breakfast. And it was really to provide a forum where I could share with female leaders of ministry, some of the insights I'd learned interviewing men and women over the years, and also share some aspects about media and PR, because by that time I was also kind of one of those people doing journalism and a bit of PR. So in my fabulous 50s, I started this breakfast called Destined to Soar Women's Ministry Breakfast. And I have just been amazed at the caliber of women that have come to kind of hear some of the speakers and the sessions that I've been able to put on for them. And I feel it's an honor to actually kind of share and inspire and empower and inform women leaders. And one of the things that's happened to me as well, which is similar to you, Beniosa, in terms of the thinking, is that since the start of 2022, my mission is about leveling up. I'm just thinking I've got to level up, give life my best shot. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm 50 and I'm thinking I'm going to be gone soon. I don't know. But I just have this thing to kind of level up. And one of the key areas where I want to level up, and I think it's important where you're a woman and you're in leadership and you're a Black woman, is all this kind of how you think about yourself, what you do, where you're going to be going, what you can achieve. I know that for myself is where I really need to up the ante. And what's helped me is meeting women and speaking with women who think big, who don't think small, because it challenges me to raise my level of thinking, and also because I'm a Christian, my level of faith to believe that I can achieve whatever it is that I think about. So for me, I've been going through this journey of getting rid of self-limiting beliefs. And sometimes it can be difficult for women to do, because sometimes we have this thing that they call the imposter syndrome, that we don't feel that we deserve it. So I remember some time ago, I got invited to do an interview at BBC, no, not an interview, it was to be part of a panel at BBC London Radio. And I remember being there and I literally felt like a rabbit caught in headlights, thinking, why am I here? I shouldn't be here. I'm not at that level to be here. And the interviewer kept saying to me, but you deserve to be here. You deserve to be here. Because what had happened to me was somewhere along the line doing my work, I had felt writing about faith was not up there in terms of compared to the people that were doing news or writing about entertainment. And I had taken that on board. And unfortunately, when I went to that interview, he could actually see the imposter feelings on my face, that, you know, I looked like I'd been caught. I don't think like that anymore. I think that I'm as good as anybody else. And one of the things for me, what's been really good about getting older and becoming more mature, is that I've grown in confidence. I would not go back to being younger again, even though I was slimmer then and could run faster. And the reason why I would not go back to being younger is because I love being confident. I love the skin that I'm in. I love loving myself and believing in myself. And I would only go back to being younger if I could take everything that I know now back to when I was in my 20s. So like I said, since I've hit my 50s, I've just been kind of doing new things. I did my breakfast. Last year, I launched my YouTube channel, which I'm really, really excited about. And this year I've set new goals for myself in terms of the kind of clients that I'm going to go after in terms of my PR business, which is higher paid clients. And I'm just looking to upgrade everything that I do. So for me, leadership is very much about self-leadership, how I'm going to approach what I do, because I'm not a leader in that traditional sense. I'm at that place where I want to give everything my best shot and be a leader in terms of how people view me, that inspires and supports and empowers and helps. And just recently, I'm going to say God has enabled me to provide mentoring for some younger women so that I'm able to share some of my experiences and also encourage them in terms of thinking big and going after what they want. So like everybody here, I'm on a journey. It's a journey of self-leadership, a journey to lead by example. through my life and through my words and through my actions. And I hope in doing that, I'm able to break the bias. That's me.